Okay, here's an update on my header build. Remember in a previous video I said I order way more than I need so I don't get right down to the last tube and have to order something? It happened. So I got the passenger side done, driver side, worked my way all the way up to this last tube, and I've changed something on these trucks. So I used to do the column with another knuckle right here to where it had 3 knuckles and went around the headers. But I was trying to just do a 2-knuckle deal just to make it easier on the steering column, where I can just cut one piece, put it together, and sell it. But the issue is that I have to basically turn out of here a lot sooner with 2 knuckles in here. So I tried to make it work with the bends I had, but I just couldn't get a tight enough radius. So I ended up ordering a donut, and it should be here today or tomorrow. So I went ahead and welded out the rest of the header tube. And then I fit this one up, put it back in the truck, got all the tubes tacked to the flanges, cut it off like what we talked about, got that cut flush. This is the part that a lot of people always ask, is how do you seal up the collector? Derek, yo, give me like a couple minutes. This is the part that everybody always wonders, is how do you seal the collector up? So I'm gonna show you guys that before I jump in and weld it. There's 2 ways. When all your tubes are in here together, I always tack them. This was actually tacked in my jig underneath the truck to where I knew it had them all held together. And then I pulled it out, cut that in the saw, got it all squared up now. And this is where you would basically use one of these 2 options. You either have a plate that goes in here and you weld that in, and when you weld it in, you run your weld up and around the corner right here, and you kind of have to build this up a little bit, kind of create a little web in there to fill up that crevice. Or you can use these spikes, but it's a similar deal, it's just a spike instead of a plate. So how do you know which one to use? Typically I use this any chance I can, but if I'm doing a turbo build, I use these. Only reason is because on the turbo stuff, like it gets so much heat built into the collector, it'll start burning that tip back. That thing's pretty sharp, and it'll burn this back, and then you'll end up having a leak right at the end of that. Also, a deciding factor on this was I bought both of these for this header build because I didn't know which one I was going to use, and then it turns out those ones are steel, so they sent me the wrong one, so I'm not going to use them anyways. These are actually stainless, so I will definitely be using those. Other than that, so you get this in here. You weld it in, build that up. So it's basically the whole inside would be sealed all the way to the outside. And then you come put the collector on, weld that up, and that void should be about halfway there or a little bit more than halfway. So you just, when you weld the collector on, you just finish that and weld it up. Now, one thing that kind of caught me off guard, I wasn't used to, is these collectors don't fit the way that every collector I've ever used has been. So this was kind of a bastard deal where I was going from 2 1/8 to 3 inch, and I couldn't find anywhere on the internet except for this one company. I don't even remember the name of the company, but I only found one company that would go from 2 1/8 primaries down to the 3 inch throat right there. And whenever I go to put it up here, they usually slide over about 1/4 inch. These ones, I'm thinking these are actually for 2 inch is what I think, and they just sold them to me anyways. But they'll work for what we're doing because they're going to weld up just fine. The only thing is I was planning on it sliding in there 1/4 inch because most of the time that's what happens. But so we can make them work. It just, I wasn't expecting that. So there you go. There's your passenger side header. Stay tuned and we'll finish them up. Okay, excuse the mess here, but I got one header done. Thought I'd jump in here and let y'all check that out. This is just a 3/4 inch thick aluminum plate that I use for bolting my flanges to. I use these tapered bolts so that it'll kind of countersink down in there and gives me more room coming around here without hitting the head of the bolt. Got the collector welded on all the way. This thing is ready to install. And I got the donut that we talked about for the other side. So I'm going to cut that thing up, try to get the other side mocked up. Alright guys, we got the headers finished up. We saw previously in the video where I got the passenger side done. I went ahead and got all these fit up, welded in. I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm real happy with the steering column clearance now. Everything's good there. The donut worked out perfect. I'm pretty excited about the column deal. I really wanted to do a one-piece column like this instead of having it jump over to here and have to make another bracket and mount another knuckle. So this ends up being a lot cheaper to do because it's less fab work and less stuff to buy. I mean, yeah, we had to buy a donut, but we didn't have to buy one of these, and we didn't have to make a bracket, and, you know, the lock collars to hold it and all that stuff. So this ended up being a lot better deal. I'm gonna roll with this from here on out, and we will jump underneath and take a look under there. All right, here we are guys on the bottom side. Looks like we got plenty of floor clearance right here. Got plenty of frame clearance everywhere. Transmission lines. Looks like everything worked out good. Plan came together. I want to talk about the oxygen sensor bungs right here. So I use the ones from Vibrant because they are saddled to fit the tube good, and they kind of got like this flange on them. They make some other kind that you just drill a hole and drop it down in a hole and then weld it up, but it seems like the vibration from that sensor hanging out here, it always ends up cracking around them. So I've ran these on, you know, 4,000 horsepower race cars with 0 failures. So these are what I like to run. I just feel like they're stronger, keeps the tube from cracking out, stress cracking or whatever. So that's what I use. I kind of put those sensors up in here and figured out a good location for both of them. I feel like this side we can run the wiring with the transmission harness right there, and that'll be nice. On this side we might be able to kind of run it along with the transmission lines forward to kind of tie it up. But anyway, I think that's going to work out pretty good. Guys, don't go away. We're going to step in the office and we're going to talk about hours and time it took to build this. Okay guys, I'm going through my QuickBooks, just kind of going through invoices here on this customer's account to figure out what my hours were just in the headers. I mean, I did other things, so like we built some fixtures and stuff for the collectors, and I didn't charge for any of that stuff. That's all time that I just ate so that I can use those fixtures later on. So even though they were kind of a custom build, the 2 1/8 tubes, I don't plan on using those again, but still I didn't charge for any of that stuff. Time or materials, I ate all of that. But I did go through the invoices and figure out what I had in building the headers. So I'm going to add that up right quick. Okay, so I'm showing I had 41.75. So basically 42 hours in building the headers and putting them back on. That little bit of time did include putting the starter on and the messing with the dipstick tube and stuff like that. So I gave the customer back the bins that we didn't end up using, like I talked about in the first video. Just on the headers, we haven't done the exhaust yet, but just on the headers I ended up giving them back full retail on those, which is $330. I called the manufacturer, they wouldn't take them back, so that's just another deal I'm going to have to eat on that, and maybe I'll use them again someday. Maybe we'll do a stepped header or something, who knows. But anyways, I hear it all the time, guys. Like, I've got a buddy that can do it cheaper and faster, and all I'm saying is I got basically 42 hours in those headers. You guys watch the video. If you have a buddy that can do it cheaper or faster, have him contact me. We are hiring, and I'd love to have him. So I'll put a link to our website in the description. Please send them my way. Thanks guys for watching.